And welcome along to Matchday Live, Lincoln City versus Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. As you can see, we brought the show home to its rightful place, the LNER Stadium, for a one-off special. Over the course of the hour, we'll be hearing from the manager, Michael Appleton, various Imps past and present, and of course, we'll be hearing from a little Liverpool legend as well. More on that later on in this show. As you can see, the founder and editor of StaceyWest.net, Gary Hutchinson, joins me. Gary, this is all a little bit crazy, isn't it?
It is a little bit crazy. The reigning Premier League champions coming to Sincil Bank. It's such an exciting evening to be a supporter, whether you're here or not. It's just going to be a historic night for the club, I think.
Yeah, but how much are we going to miss the fans this evening?
Oh, we're going to miss them hugely. I mean, the atmosphere against Everton last year was rocking. It was phenomenal. And you get that wonderful stand behind us, full with a 617 singing. I mean, it can be worth a goal to you. So it's going to be a huge miss for the players tonight.
How do the Imps approach this one then? Is it a case of sitting back defending and hoping to get Liverpool on the counter, or do you just go for it straight from the off?
I think it's tough. I think it depends very much on the Liverpool lineup as well. I think if they're playing a strong side, you have to be cautious. If you concede one or two early, it can turn into a rout and heads can drop. I think Michael will be looking to keep it tight. I think he'll look to keep us very compact through the middle. And if a chance comes our way, you have to take it. That's how dreams are made.
There has been so much build-up to this game, despite the fact that no fans are here. If you go on all the blogs, if you go on YouTube, you see all the pre-match bloggers from the Liverpool end as well. When a team like Liverpool comes to town, just how big a game is it?
They're one of two teams that are a huge draw, I think, in England. And I'll mention Manchester United once, they're the other one. But the interest has been huge this week. I mean, even for myself, I've been in Sweden and Germany in their media as well. So Liverpool come in, it's a national event. You know, they're worldwide stars. There's pictures of them at the Brayford, for instance, this afternoon, having a wander around. So the eyes of the world temporarily are on Lincoln. That's so exciting.
Absolutely. So all eyes on the Carabao Cup this evening. But of course, the Imps were in league action over the weekend. They played MK Dons at Stadium MK. Here's what happened. Yeah, brilliant result for the Imps, a win that took them joint first at the top of the League One table alongside Ipswich Town. Gary, how impressed were you with not just the result, but the manner of the victory?
I was really impressed because I thought MK Dons held possession really well. And it's something that we've not really been tested in. We had at Oxford last season. We were very much about what we were doing with the ball. So I think to see a team have that possession once again be shut out was really impressive. But we had to grind out the result. Obviously, it was a fortuitous penalty, I think, early doors. Then when they got back into the game, I had a feeling that perhaps, just perhaps, it's the sort of game that last season we go on and lose, but certainly don't win. So we showed some real character to bounce back late on. So it bodes well for the future.
Okay, let's move it on to the Carabao Cup then. That is why we are here. And let's talk about the result in the last round, because that was quite some statement. To go to a place like Valley Parade and win in the manner that Lincoln City did here. What did you make of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was an emphatic victory, wasn't it? It was certainly a morale boost at a really good stage of the season. It gave us a chance to express ourselves as well. And you can see there the amount of space that we managed to find down the right-hand side was phenomenal. It was good for some of the younger lads as well to get on the score sheet, as Anthony Scully did. And he's a really big hope for us, I think, this season. Yeah,
the way that they played some brilliant football here as well. It wasn't a case of just shooting on sight and scoring. I mean, we're watching the 90 minutes together. They just knocked it about the park, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely, they did. We played really sort of slick passing football. It was a glimpse of the other side of Lincoln. If MK Dons was the functional performance, this was the performance in full flow, and we will see more of it. I mean,
hey, what a goal that was, by the way.
James Jones, what a phenomenal player he's been for the first couple of games. He's settled in really well. And by the way, the Lewis Monsma finish that we saw a moment ago as well, that's a top quality centre forwards finish. And
this was an actual centre forward.
Exactly. Callum Morton rounding it off, and it'll be brilliant for Callum, obviously, to get himself on the score sheet, because we've got hopes for him as well this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we're not saying that we're going to see exactly the same scoreline tonight. Of course, we're not, but we wouldn't mind seeing a couple of Lincoln City goals, and perhaps James Jones could get on the score sheet. We'll be hearing from him later on in the show. As I'm sure you'll know by now, Lincoln City fans, that the winners of tonight's game play Arsenal in round 4 of the Carabao Cup. They beat Leicester City last night. Michael Appleton was speaking ahead of tonight's game at the LNER Stadium yesterday. He spoke to BBC Radio Lincolnshire. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, Mark, your scout, went to watch them on Sunday. You read his report yet?
No, I actually watched the game myself, so I don't need to read it. No, yeah, I mean, hopefully we won't have to face that, what Chelsea faced on Sunday. So, but no, listen, it's going to be a great test for the young players in the team. As you know, we've got a really, really young side, and yeah, we just have to make sure that we contain Liverpool at the right time. And try and stay in the game as long as we possibly can.
I was going to say, how crucial is that, keeping it tight early on and not giving them that confidence, because as much as you'll be worried that they could really turn on the style, I guess they'll be worried that they'll be on the back pages of being upset on a Friday morning. Yeah,
no, definitely, and I would imagine they've got the right person in charge to make sure that doesn't happen from their point of view, but from our point of view, you're right, there's always upsets, there's always people who can, pull a result out from nowhere. Players are in good spirits. Obviously, we've got off to a good start. So, yeah, there's always that chance. And like I say, Jurgen is that experienced. He strikes me as the type of person at the clubs that he's been at, and I don't know, so I'm guessing I haven't got the facts in front of me, that doesn't lose too many, games against lower division sides, just in terms of the way he sets his sides up and their attitude.
Have you met him before? Have you ever?
I have met him a couple of times. Obviously, the year I had a couple of years back with Leicester, we played against them a couple of times. We actually played them 3 times. We played them in fact, did we knock them out of the cup? I think we might have knocked them out of the cup that season. Yeah, I think we probably did. Yeah. But no, yeah. So I've met him at a couple of LMA events as well. So good guy, yeah. Very, very nice guy. But a bit more importantly, I think the job he does as a manager is second to none at this moment in time.
Yeah, so Michael Appleton speaking there about how he was part of a setup that actually knocked Jurgen Klopp out of a couple of cup competitions. Hopefully, Gary, Jurgen hasn't seen that pre-match interview.
Yeah, hopefully not from Michael's point of view, although I don't think he would say anything to Michael with Michael there being a big lad anyway. So I think it's interesting, though, to hear Michael saying that he's already been up against Jurgen, and people sometimes, certainly Lincoln fan base, might actually forget the pedigree that Michael's got behind him.
Yeah, it's interesting what he said there about the style of play as well, and the way that they need to get off. They need to start right on the front foot, don't they? But we know, we've seen that Bradford game. We've just been talking about it there, the way that the Imps can play. And they're playing on a brilliant surface here tonight at the LNER. It's not exactly what it was 20, 30 years ago.
No, it's like a pool table out there. It's really conducive for fast-flowing football, and that can work for us or against us. Of course, the Premier League champions are going to want to play nice football as well. I think it will be a spectacle for the neutral, and as you said, Michael said, we want to start on the front foot. Of course, if we start on the front foot, that's going to take the game to Liverpool and really open it up. So it could be an exciting one.
There was spoken about the media coverage that this game has received. I read a piece in the Telegraph yesterday by the writer Jim White, who was talking about Lincoln not being this Lincoln side, not being the crazy gang, but actually the aspiration crew. The idea that these are young players who want to better themselves, better their careers, and do it here at Lincoln City. That bodes well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I really like the fact they've been given a label, because I think that promotes togetherness. It makes them feel like they're a unit and a side. But we've got some really exciting young players. Michael Appleton's got a great reputation for developing young players as well. So there's no reason whatsoever why they shouldn't be the aspiration crew. And when you look at some of the players, Lewis Montsma, Sean Rowan, Anthony Scully, even arguably James Jones, who's only 24 years old, and people forget that Harry Anderson's only 23 years old. Our senior pros are young players. If they hit their flow correctly, this could be the start of a team that lasts not just one season, but 2, 3, 4 seasons.
Yeah, exciting times indeed. Well, one member of that aspiration crew that Gary just alluded to there is James Jones. A big night for him, not least because he's a Liverpool fan. He was on media duty as well, speaking at the LNER yesterday.
We spoke last week after the game about how exciting it is for you. Is it building that excitement? Are you still feeling those nerves, that excitement?
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit surreal. Playing the thought of playing against your boyhood team, and even if it's not all the superstars, there's going to be quality on show no matter what team is put out. So yeah, it's going to be a really good test. Looking forward to it.
How important was it to sign off the league campaign for this week with that victory on Saturday?
Very important for the league. Obviously, it's massively important. But then take that momentum hopefully into the game Thursday. So yeah, if we can just keep building on it and keep building on it, and then there's another important game Sunday to look forward to after the Thursday one.
Did you watch the game on Sunday on telly and think, all those players are on the bench, we might be playing against them on Thursday?
Yeah, there was definitely a bit of thinking who's going to be playing, and Thiago came on, and the Henderson, you were thinking, does that mean he's not going to play? Does that mean he's going to? And so it's hard not to when you're watching the game Sunday. But yeah, we'll see.
Who would you like to test yourself against?
As many of the big name players as possible. It's probably not going to happen like that, because obviously they've got a lot of fixtures as well. But whoever's on show, you can only play against who's up against you. I'm not too fussy, but you always want to play against the big stars.
You mentioned you and Max are the Liverpool fans in the changing room. You've been getting a bit of stick off your teammates this week?
Not really. I think everyone's just like focused on the game. They're not really, I don't know, there's not really been too much stick knocking about, but that'd be good.
That's James Jones speaking at the LNER Stadium yesterday. Speaks really well, doesn't he, Gary? How impressed have you been with how he's slotted into this Lincoln City side?
Yeah, he certainly does speak well. I think he's a really impressive young man. I think he's probably come through one of the best academies outside the top 2 divisions in Crewe. They develop really sound, grounded footballers. It's enabled him to settle in very well. He's a senior professional, as I alluded to earlier, at 24 years old. He's very talented. He's so good on the ball, box-to-box player. We spoke about him, I think, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he just keeps improving and getting better and better. And again, it's exciting to hear him talk so positively.
Yeah, we saw that brilliant goal at Valley Parade, didn't we? But actually his highlights reel from when he signed for the Imps over the summer, from when he played for Crewe, that suggests that we're in for something quite special over the next few years with Jamie Jones, with the kind of goals that he can score.
Oh, absolutely. The goal he scored against Bradford was superb. He didn't just score it, he made it as well. Let's not forget that. I think he played the ball in, was it against Oxford, the free kick for the goal at the end of the game. And you kind of need that in your locker, certainly with the sort of football that we play, where we're looking to try and prize openings. Occasionally, you need a player that can just go bang and come up with something that's really special. He's got that. Theo Archibald has got that, but we haven't seen it. And again, I think it's important just to have an air of unpredictability about the team.
Liverpool fan as well that we mentioned and that you heard there when he was speaking to Rob Makepeace. He doesn't strike me as the type of player, though, that would be in awe of the opposition tonight.
No, you'd certainly hope not. Max Melbourne either. I think footballers have they have to separate, don't they, their allegiances. I mean, he'll obviously be a Lincoln City player. He's a professional as well. It was interesting to hear him say that they want to play against the strongest team possible. I think that's really positive, because again, that goes back to that aspirational crew, that they don't just want to win games, they want to test themselves and they want to prove themselves. And that kind of hunger seems to run through some of these younger players, which again, for a Lincoln City fan's got to be exciting.
I'll ask you about that then. Do you want to see the strongest possible opposition tonight, or would you perhaps take a bit of confidence from seeing some of the younger Liverpool squad play this evening, because that obviously gives Lincoln a bit more of a chance of going through?
You know me, Sam, I sit on the fence all the time on this show already. If the younger players play, it gives us an opportunity perhaps to progress, and there's a big tie waiting in the next round. But then again, you do want to see those players tested. You know, and if you want the occasion and you want the history and you want to look back on the game and remember it fondly, it's going to be about the big names that played. Those players all want to play against the big names, so you've got to want what the players want.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be hearing the starting 11 in around about 15 minutes' time or so. So we will be bringing that as soon as we come to you. Do get your comments in this evening. I'm looking at plenty of them here. We'll be reading those out throughout the course of the show. Now, for a lot of the younger viewers that are watching this show and this game this evening, they may not remember the last time that Liverpool came to the LNER Stadium. It was back in 2006, a pre-season friendly. The year, of course, after they won at the Champions League back in 2005. The Spirit of Istanbul, or the Miracle of Istanbul. Quite some game that was, of course it was. This is what happened when Liverpool came to the LNER Stadium back in 2006.
The Liverpool fans out in force as a near-capacity 10,000 crowd here at Sinsel Bank. A fantastic entrance greets the two sides here in this pre-season friendly match. Lincoln City versus Liverpool. A proud night for Red. 17-year-old defender Jack Hobbs returning to the club where he learnt his trade. And this is the reason why this match is being played as part of the deal that took Hobbs to Liverpool. Jack Hobbs, proud Liverpool captain. Uriah Rennie, our match referee. Lincoln City in League Two. Unbeaten start to their season, drawing the first one, then winning the last two games, including the long trip to Torquay United at the weekend. Aurelio. That is a measured ball, beautifully taken down. Oh, how about that? Mark Gonzalez, a goal made in South America, Brazil to Chile, and he smashed it into the back of the net. Corner taken quickly. Good rise by Godwin Antwi. Oh, he's hit the crossbar, but it's put in. Bessian Idrisaj, the 17-year-old, with Liverpool's second goal of the evening. Oh, it's a bit short, the header. And Semple has pulled a goal back for Lincoln. The home fans with something to celebrate. Ryan Semple. Actually, James Smith, who heads it beyond the reach of his own goalkeeper, David Martin. And Semple, 2-1. Uriah Rennie has checked his watch. And there is the final whistle. An excellent evening's entertainment. Goals from Gonzalez and Idrisaj. Liverpool beat Lincoln 2-1 on Jack Hobbs' return.
Yeah, friendly that was agreed after the sale of Lincoln City defender Jack Hobbs to Liverpool. Gary, what can you remember of that one then?
It was certainly a long time ago. I was actually poacher at the time,
Right.
and I remember going out in the warm-up with Robbie Fowler and Jan Camp, etc. I also remember it being a really sort of relaxed atmosphere. Lots of the players signing autographs. Rafa Benitez, I seem to think, actually spent certainly the entire first half just signing autographs, didn't watch the game at all. But incredibly relaxed, but with a good atmosphere as well. And I'd take the same result tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned Robbie Fowler there as well. I seem to remember a lot of Lincoln City fans swarming around Fowler, hoping for autographs and pictures.
Yeah, I mean, Fowler was a huge name back then. It's certainly a huge name still now. Probably the biggest star that they brought at the time outside of Mark Gonzalez. I think he just signed for Liverpool as well. But it was a treat to see those players here. Perhaps not so much so in what was an exhibition game. You know, they don't really mean anything. Whereas when you see the big names that may or may not play tonight, I think it probably inspires a little more awe in the younger people.
Do you know what struck me about that evening? It was actually one of the first times where I'd been here as a Lincoln City fan and seen the stadium full. whether it was because Liverpool were playing and the amount of Liverpool fans that were here as well. Either way, I loved it for that reason alone. Of course, we're so lucky now, not right at this moment, but in the past few years, being Lincoln City fans, that we have been able to see a full LNER stadium.
Yeah, it's surprising how many friends I had in the week before that game saying, "Can you get me tickets?" Because we thought that there would be a shortage. But no, it was a full stadium. There was a phenomenal atmosphere, and we didn't see it an awful lot. There were games that stuck in the mind through the Keith era. There was Huddersfield, we beat them here 3-1, but it was always the away team that seemed to fill the stadium, and there was kind of a hardcore of Lincoln. That support has certainly grown, and we've seen it more and more over the last few years. It's just, we keep going back to it. It's such a shame that we won't see it full tonight.
Yeah, and it was at a time when Lincoln really needed some money, didn't they? And they were blessed really with the sale of Jack Hobbs in terms of the financial gain from that.
Yeah, absolutely. 06-07 season was obviously John Schofield. We were playing some phenomenal football. I mean, we were such a good side for 6 months that season. It would have hopefully invested some in the playing side. I think we brought Danny and Gesson and Paul Green in on the back of that. We did invest in the training ground as well, which, although that particular one was a failure, the concept of the training ground has proven incredibly important now as well. So, but it's also good for the club's profile. When you play Liverpool or when you play Man United, as we've said, the eyes of the world turn to you, and they did for a moment in 2006.
Absolutely, in the eyes of the footballing world. Of course, we're watching the game this evening, no doubt. Well, delighted to say now that former Lincoln City defender and former Liverpool defender Jack Hobbs can join us. Jack, welcome to the show. You're joining us from your Loughborough home, I believe.
That's right, yeah, just a village just south of Loughborough in Quorn. So, yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming on. Tell us then what you remember of that game, because of course you were captain of that Liverpool side.
Yeah, I remember being a great occasion and evening. Obviously, stadium sold out. A lot of my friends were there, and playing against obviously a lot of players that I played with in the youth team. And we had I think 4 or 5 of the regular first team was there, in particular Robbie Fowler, as you just mentioned, and it was a great occasion. It was fantastic, and it's a memory that I'm going to have for my lifetime, and I'm very blessed to have been a part of it, really.
Yeah, I know you spent your youth career at the Imps, but it must have been a dream come true to sign for a club like Liverpool.
Yeah, it was all a bit surreal, to be honest with you. All I remember doing as a youth team was just getting my head down and working hard, really. I got in amongst the first team very briefly, and had some scouts watching me at reserve games. And I think originally it was Arsenal that showed the most interest, but that fell through, and Liverpool invited me up for a couple of weeks of training, and after that offered me a deal, and on my 17th birthday signed a professional deal there. So to be honest, it was absolutely amazing. It just seemed to happen so quickly, and it was all just manic. But obviously the relief and the joy to have got it over the line in the end was brilliant for me.
Yeah, and Jack, I just wonder. I remember obviously your Lincoln City debut here against Bristol Rovers. It was obviously quite a brief cameo. But what do you remember of actually playing for the Imps here at Sincil Bank?
Yeah, like I said before, really, there's that sense of relief that I'd got on and finally made an appearance for Lincoln City, and obviously when you're coming through all the youth ages, and I was delighted to get my scholarship. I finally get that, and working hard in the reserve, in the youth team in the reserves, and to have that opportunity, albeit for 5 minutes, it was amazing, and I was just over the moon to get on and to say I've played a professional game of football at the time.
Jack, tell us what you're up to now then. I believe you were at Bolton Wanderers last season.
Yeah, I spent 2 years at Bolton Wanderers, albeit last season got cut short because of obviously lockdown, and that's been it. I've been at home for a little while now and enjoyed spending some time with the family, and I've been ticking over. If an opportunity arises, then that would be great. But as it stands, like I say, I'm at home and just enjoying some quiet time at the moment.
What about tonight's game then? How do you see it going?
I'm really looking forward to watching it. Obviously, I think the team that should be coming through pretty soon, so it'll be interesting to see what side Liverpool bring down, and hopefully there'll be a few big hitters involved. But Lincoln started really well, early doors, but joint second in the table, and look quite exciting. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope it will be a good game.
And we hope you'll be cheering on the Imps tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to Radio Merseyside yesterday, and they asked me what I'd like the result to be, and I did mention that Liverpool have won quite a lot lately, so it'd be really nice to see Lincoln progress into the next round and get through.
Love it, Jack. Really appreciate your time. We'll let you go and get settled for the game and hopefully enjoy the rest of Matchday Live as well. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you. Cheers.
Former Lincoln City and Liverpool defender Jack Hobbs joining us live from his Loughborough home there. Great to hear from Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, I do remember his brief cameo for Lincoln, but he went on to have a really stellar career. Obviously, he was a good, solid defender, fearless as well. And it's, it'd be nice to see him pick up a club and finish off his career somewhere.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's hear from a member of the opposition now, because there was no Jurgen Klopp yesterday for the media duties. He actually sent his assistant, Pep Lijnders, brilliant talker, excellent coach. Lijnders doing great things for Liverpool. He was asked in that press conference about what he thought of Lincoln City, and his reply was that he was glowing about the Imps.
Just focus on the next game, and that's what we do. And we concentrate to play against Lincoln, and a club with a great journey so far, especially the last 4 years with 2 promotions. A team who's top of the league at this moment. A manager with lots of experience, even in the Premier League as assistant, and now we really look forward to this game. And again, we want to attack this competition, and as each game what's in front of us, but we have to do the right things in the right moment. So tomorrow, because we're going to play against a side who will defend deep, who's ready to counter-attack, who has real speed on the wings and real technical players on the inside. But set up for a good counter-attacking game. They scored 5 goals already, example, this season from counter-attacks. And at the same time, when they play, they really play. But what I'm trying to say is that the team we have to put into place tomorrow has to be a team who is very well prepared. And if you have only 3 days in between 2 games, you have to use the time very wisely. You have to prepare the team, and sometimes it's really interesting to prepare a team from day one after the last game, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, Pep Lijnders, the assistant manager of Liverpool, speaking at the Melwood training ground yesterday. Gary, great to hear a member of the opposition of such a big side be so complimentary about this Lincoln City squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually about respect. I think you expect it from big sides to be well prepared. It was great to hear him talking about our game. He understands our game as well as some of our fans do, perhaps better than some of our fans do. But you expect this from the big teams, and it's why the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United, and arguably Arsenal as well do well against lower league teams, because they prepare properly. And I think when you look at our FA Cup run, perhaps the likes of Brighton and Burnley didn't extend us the same courtesy.
Do you think Michael Appleton's approach to this game changes slightly, having watched that press conference and what Pep actually had to say?
Potentially. I don't think that Michael would be any illusions that they would come here underprepared. You don't have a backroom team the size of Liverpool's and not be well prepared. Obviously, Neil Critchley did great work with the under-23s to prepare for Shrewsbury last season. So even if we were seeing the young kids, but the kind of the new breed coming through at Liverpool, they'd still be prepared and well drilled. I think Michael's game plan probably has remained constant all the time. You know really what sort of threat you're going to get. These big clubs play to patterns, and it starts right down with the youths and comes all the way up through to the senior team. They play the same way, so you kind of know what to expect, whichever level of football you're facing.
Plenty of talk in that press conference about style of play. How would you define Lincoln City's style of play? Or can it not be defined at the moment? And is that actually a good thing? 3 questions for you there today.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's why you're on the show.
I think you could probably... It is hard to define our style of play, because we're very different, obviously, in possession and out of possession. And I think that reflects really well on the team. For instance, going back to our last manager, we were very much defined by what we did outside of play. When we didn't have the ball, that was where we won and lost games, not when we had the ball. And I think, that was the cloud. We drew 3-3 with Bury, and it was a game of one team in possession, one team not, who was going to be better. With this side, Michael seems to have us being a little bit more of a double threat. When we've got the ball and when there's space there to exploit, as we saw against Bradford, we can do that. But at the same time, when teams want to come onto us and want to have possession, as Oxford did, we can soak that up as well. So it does work well for us. It makes it harder for teams to set up against us. It will be interesting further down the line when the likes of Gillingham come along, who are big, robust bullies, dare I say bullies, but we don't have to worry about that tonight.
You're allowed to call a Steve Evans side bullies. I'm not. Great stuff. Right, let's go to some of your comments then. We'll be getting the team news in around about a minute's time. We'll head to Alan Long shortly. In the meantime, I've been asking for your comments, so please do get them into you. Plenty to hear from. Cornell has got in touch. He says Lincoln City FC will go through to the next round and they will beat Arsenal in the 4th round. He's a confident man, Cornell. Appreciate your comment tonight. Steve Byatt has been in touch. He says, all the best, Lincoln City. Keep your heads high and show Liverpool just what you're made of. Remember, David beat Goliath with a slingshot, and you can do the same to Liverpool. That is the kind of team talk I hope that Michael Appleton is giving this evening, David. Let's go to one more comment, and I'll go to Michael Clayton. Says, make a good show. Good luck, lads. Well, hopefully we're bringing you a good luck show. We're doing our best for you from the LNER Stadium tonight. We're hoping that technology is on our side. Touch wood, we think it is at the moment. But it is now 6:45, which means one thing and one thing only. We can cross live, I believe, to Alan Long, who is pitchside for us with today's team news. Alan.
Hi, Sam. Thank you very much. As you can see on pitchside, it's fairly quiet here at the moment. But as always, I'm going to start off with tonight's teams and with our visitors from Liverpool. So in goal is number 13, Adrian. At 4, Virgil van Dijk. 16 is Marco Grujic. At 17 is Curtis Jones. At 18 is Takumi Minamino. Kostas Tsimikas is at 21. 23, Zuridan Shaqiri. Divock Origi is number 27. 46 is Reece Williams. Harvey Elliott is number 67. And 76 is Nico Williams. On the bench, we've got Koeman Keller. Number 3, Fabinho. Number 8, Naby Keita. Diego Jota makes his debut at number 20. 59, Harry Wilson. Trent Alexander-Arnold is at 66. And number 72 is Sepp van der Berg. Right, here we come with the all-important Imps lineup. So in goal number 1, Alex Palmer. At number 2, Max Melbourne. Number 3, Lewis Monsma. At number 7, Theo Eden. At number 8, James Jones. Number 10 is George Grant. Number 11, Anthony Scully. 15 is Alex Bradley. TJ Omer is at 22. 23 is Liam Bridcut. And 26 is Harry Anderson. On the bench for the Imps tonight, it's 29, Ethan Ross. Number 5, Adam Jackson. Number 9, Tom Hopper. Number 14, Theo Archibald. 17, Remy Howarth. Conor McGrandles is at 18. And number 30 is Sean Rowan. Tonight's referee is Tony Harrington. The assistants are Keil Howson and Sean Hudson. And Jeff Elchingham is the 4th official. Right, that's it from pitchside. Sam, back up to you.
Alan, thank you very much. So that is today's team news. Gary, I'll go straight to you. What do you make of it?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, first of all, when you hear Virgil van Dijk's name come off three names in, it feels a little bit like it did when we played Arsenal and I was hearing their first team come out. Our team's really interesting, isn't it? Alex Bradley given a chance, which you would imagine is probably at right back, with Ioma potentially tucking in right centre half, which obviously highlights his flexibility. Jones, Grant and Eden, and Theo Eden, big chance for him tonight. Obviously, Aaron Lewis impressed at this stage last season against Everton. So it's a big chance for some of those, dare I say, fringe players to step up. And I think it could be an exciting night from Anthony Scully. He's just a little bit unpredictable. He's willing to run. He's willing to work. He's willing just to do things that you perhaps are not quite planning for. So it's an interesting team selection from Michael.
Certainly so, yeah, and we'll be going through that Liverpool team later on in the show as well. Let's go back pitch side now, because I believe that Aaron Lewis can join us. Aaron, even I should say, welcome along to the show. Hopefully you can hear me okay as well. It's a big night at the LNER, isn't it?
Premier League holders come down to Lincoln.
How are you getting on then? Tell us about your injury, because when do we expect to see you back?
The past couple of days I've been training now, so unfortunately obviously picked up the injury, but should be good to go now after this game, available to come back in with the squad.
Gareth, you're asking.
And obviously, Aaron, last season against Everton, you particularly impressed, came into the side for only your second appearance for the club. How important is it for some of the players who are coming in tonight to kind of turn in a similar performance?
Yes, it's massively important, but obviously we're a big squad. We're sort of together. The boys have started off the season really well, so I don't think it matters who sort of plays. There's a lot of games coming up, and I think everyone's capable of going on the pitch and doing what they need to do to bring results. So I think whether you're, say, a starter or a fringe player, I think everyone's capable and everyone needs to stick together and get a result.
Yeah, Aaron, how much are the fans going to be missed tonight? You've played in some big games at the LNER. They are going to be missed, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. It changes the whole atmosphere. Like I said, the Everton game last year, it was rocking, especially after that first goal early on. It was a great atmosphere, which the fans always bring. So they are missed, but hopefully at some point we can get them back. But obviously, we're not sure when that's going to be yet.
And just finally, we're up here in one of the executive boxes. What is the mood down at pitch side? I guess how much do you have to focus on your own job as a squad at hand and not get carried away with the fact that the Premier League champions are in town?
Yeah, I think obviously we know who the opposition is tonight and obviously what they're about, but we also know what we're about and the sort of start we've had to the season, sort of building momentum. So I don't think anyone should be sort of nervous or scared. I think we just got to go out, enjoy it, and then switch back onto the league.
Well, Aaron, we'll let you get settled and enjoy the game, and we look forward to seeing you back on the pitch very soon. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
That was the West Under-21 International and Lincoln City, of course, Aaron Lewis joining us. Let's just get back to the team then, because how are you expecting Michael to set this up? Because he has made a few changes today.
Yeah, he has. I mean, obviously, just looking at the team there, I think Ioma, as I've mentioned, will be centre-half with Lewis Monsma, Bradley and Melbourne will be full-backs. Bridcut will sit probably just in front of those with Eden and playing Conor McGrandle's role. James Jones will do what James Jones does. And then up top, I mean, obviously Grant and Anderson left and right. Harry Anderson could be an important player tonight. There are not many like him in the top flight. And what I mean by that is wingers with pace. He does play in straight lines, but he is a bulldog. He's so strong. And perhaps, that's something that they won't be expecting, or certainly they won't regularly come up against. And as I've said, Anthony Scully, that he's got the potential to be a huge fan favourite. It's a big night for him because I think he does prefer playing 9. He's probably the third choice 9, more likely to pop up on either side. But imagine you turn in a good performance against the English champions in the Carabao Cup, and you suddenly stake a claim. You jump right up the pecking order.
So we've spoken about the fact that Virgil van Dijk is starting for Liverpool tonight. What about that front three then? Xherdan Shaqiri, Minamino and Origi. How do the Imps defenders deal with a front three like that? Of course, not Liverpool's strongest front three, but pretty good.
They probably defend for 90 minutes, Sam, I would say. Look, we knew that I think we knew Origi was going to play, or Origi, I beg your pardon. They're proven players. I mean, Shaqiri has played at the World Cup. He's an immensely talented player. Michael will be hoping to stop crosses coming into the box. We're still going to play nice and compact, try and keep them playing sort of outside the 18-yard area. Okay, if you're relying on players like that to pull something unpredictable out the bag, they probably can. So it's going to have to be a committed performance. But on 90 minutes, 11 versus 11, anything genuinely can happen. It sounds twee, it sounds like a cliche, but if you're in the right frame of mind and they're not, you just never know.
Well, it nearly happened this time last year against Everton, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Look, against Everton, I mean, they had all sorts of talent out that night. Obviously, Richarlison played. Iwobi played, a couple of others, and we just give it a go. You just go out there and you've just got to play it like it's a league game. Take what comes at you, take your chances. As our assistant manager alluded to, we're a counter-attacking side. There's pace in there. There's players that can ping 50, 60-yard balls to feet in Monsma, in Bridcut, in Grant. So again, just never know.
So we've spoken about one Dutch defender. What about our Dutch defender, Lewis Monsma?
Lewis Monsma is a footballer. My dad describes players that can play with skill as footballers, not just in terms of being professional, but he knows always his way around the ball. He knows how to clip the ball. He knows how to strike the ball. And the way that he took his goal against Bradford suggested to me that perhaps as a child he might have played up top. He wants to make a name for himself, Lewis Monsma, and there's no better time to make a name for yourself than in a game like this. If he took Origi in his back pocket for 90 minutes, people will be talking about him tomorrow morning. From our point of view as a football club, you kind of do and don't want that. We don't want to lose him too early, but the model is to get these players up to a point where we can sell them for big funds. So it could be a huge night for Lewis Monsma.
Absolutely. Plenty of your comments coming in. I'll get to some of them now. Glenn Redimp Hughes says, come on, you mighty Red Imps. Let's show Liverpool what we are made of. Good luck, Lincoln City. I'm very gutted that we can't be here. Yeah, we do wish that you were all here this evening. It is set to be a brilliant game, but it is not quite what it normally would be without you Lincoln City fans. So we look forward to seeing you back at the LNER when it is safe to do so. That was a comment of Glenn. Heather says, come on, Lincoln. Marley says, surprised that Hopper isn't starting. Well, I'll ask Gary about that later on in the show. But yeah, no Tom Hopper starting for the Imps tonight. He's had an excellent start to the season. hasn't he? Rob Evans says the omens are there. Before we played Burnley, they played Chelsea, and our next round game was Arsenal. Yeah, like it, Rob. Like it indeed. Okay, so we've heard from a few members of the Lincoln City squad. Of course, we've heard from a few of the Liverpool as well. I did say at the top of the show that we'll be hearing from a former Liverpool legend. We can do that now. I caught up with John Barnes earlier this afternoon and asked him what he thought of the Imps.
Well, first of all, I have to say I've got a little bit of an affinity to Lincoln as well. Because, of course, my mentor, the greatest manager that I ever played under, Graham Taylor, managed Lincoln. That's how he came to Watford. So I know a lot about Lincoln. In fact, I've been to Lincoln a few times. I've been to the university to do a talk last year. And I think I played there for pre-season for Watford because Graham Taylor would always take teams back to where he managed before. So I'm sure I've played at Sincil Bank. But, of course, Liverpool, all football clubs are extraordinary. But Liverpool is an extraordinary dynasty, if you like, whereby... Of course, Liverpool, the history of Liverpool is long and varied, but I consider the Liverpool that I know and everybody knows stemming from Bill Shankly in the late 50s, early 60s. And of course, you know, it epitomizes community spirit, it epitomizes humility. As much as they're a very successful club, they are a club of the people. Bill Shankly was a bit of a socialist, and the club is a little bit like that because as much as big Premier League clubs have to be quite elitist. However, from what Bill Shankly espoused, you have to have a reverence and a support for your community. You know, so you have to give back to the community. You have to go and do charity work. I don't know if you know any Scousers, but Scousers, you can't have any airs and graces about you, no matter if you're a superstar footballer or not. So you really do have to have a relationship with the fans. And Jurgen Klopp has brought that back. He's brought back that identity of togetherness with the fans, the players, the staff, the tea ladies, the groundsmen. A bit like what football was like in the old days. But Liverpool is for me, it's a bit of a throwback to the old days when the community was the most important thing.
Let me ask you about the legend that is Graham Taylor then. What was he like to play under?
He was incredible. I was a 17-year-old boy, so I knew nothing else. Maybe players who had played for other clubs, like Pat Rice played for Arsenal and came to Watford at 32 years old. So he may know what it's like. He did the double with Arsenal and the differences between Arsenal and Watford and different football clubs. Whereas I was just a young boy coming into the professional game and thought that this is what professional football is about. Togetherness, spirit, dedication, discipline. Because, of course, Graham Taylor was such a strict disciplinarian that I thought that this is what football was. You have to remember, football in the 80s, there was a big drinking and going out culture in England. But I never saw that at Watford, even with the senior players, because Graham Taylor was an ultimate professional. Even in terms of being so far ahead of his time, in terms of having dietitians, nutritionists. I used to go to a hypnotist, me and Nigel Callahan, when I was 18, 19 years old, for him to put in my subconscious positive images of football. You know, so as much as now, a lot of that is going on now in terms of the science behind football. Graham Taylor really had that in the 80s, early 80s at Watford.
You mentioned that you'd been to Lincoln, obviously been to the University of Lincoln as well. I was looking through some of the football yearbooks. I don't believe you've played a competitive game at Sincil Bank, but you've played against the Imps for Watford.
Yeah. No, I haven't played a competitive game. But I kind of remember, because I remember Graham Taylor taking us all over, wherever he'd been before. Grimsby, because he's from Grimsby, but I may be mistaken, but I seem to remember a pre-season game at Sincil Bank. And of course, I've been there, every now and again when I was working to maybe a FA Cup game or something to actually watch them play. It's a lovely area. People don't know how lovely Lincoln is because, of course, when you talk about Grimsby and Lincoln and being a place where not many people know about, they'll be very surprised when they get to see what a lovely, lovely place it is.
Absolutely.
It's better than Grimsby anyway, put it that way.
We're all set for a brilliant game tonight as well. It's such a shame that there's going to be no fans here because often at Sincil Bank these days anyway, there's a real raucous atmosphere. But of course, we're going to have to deal without the fans today.
And of course, it's not a leveler in terms of, lower division clubs having home advantage with a crowd behind them. So, the Premier League club still should win. But it does inspire the local teams, particularly when, it's a full house with all their fans there getting behind them. So it's a shame for Lincoln that obviously, no one's going to be there. However, either way, it'll be a difficult game for them because the way that Jurgen Klopp has his team playing, great. Jurgen Klopp has his team respecting everybody. So the old adage of, if you're complacent playing against lower division teams, Liverpool don't go into the training sessions complacently. They don't go into any game complacently. So once upon a time, as we've seen lots of upsets in the past, not to say it can't be an upset tonight, but it's going to be a difficult game because Jurgen Klopp has his players playing with honesty, determination, respect for the opposition. They won't play differently against Manchester United than they will against Lincoln. That is how he has them. So obviously, depending on the team he plays, they may not be the first 11 playing, but you can see when we played against Everton in the FA Cup with a lot of the under-23 players, they still perform. So I'm looking forward to see how Liverpool play, but I'm also looking forward to see how Lincoln cope with it.
Yeah, lovely to hear John Barnes speak so glowingly about the city of Lincoln and Lincoln City as a club as well. Great words from John Barnes there. Looking at your comments, Ben Ward says, is Barnes in Gary's shed? You missing the Sinsel Bank bar this evening?
Well, I hope he's not in there. I've locked it. He might not be able to get out. So, yeah, not particularly missing the bar when I'm in Sinsel Bank, and incredibly privileged to be so.
He's right what he says, John Barnes, there, isn't he, about the way that Liverpool are clearly showing Lincoln City a lot of respect there. We know that from Pep Linder's press conference yesterday, but you only have to look at the lineup tonight to see that too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I commented on it a little bit earlier before I'd seen the lineup. Now you've seen it, you know that they're taking the game seriously, and rightly so. I do think that for Premier League clubs, certainly at this round of the competition, given the nature of the season, they are treating these games a little bit more like pre-season friendlies, in that they are able to prepare players a little bit more for the Premier League season. You look at Kai Havertz getting a hat-trick for Chelsea, for instance, last night. Newcastle with a heavy win as well. Manchester United put out a fairly strong side at Luton. Usually this competition is punctuated by under-23 players and players that we don't recognise, and that's certainly not the case at this stage this season.
Absolutely. Georgie Sharp has been in touch. Hi, Georgie. Great to hear from you. He says, hi, Sam. Wish we were there. Good luck, Lincoln City. Yeah, we wish you were here as well. Robert says he just heard from a Liverpool mad nephew that 3 youth team starters means the first half is Lincoln City's. Come on, you mighty Imps. Plenty of positive, optimistic Lincoln City fans tonight, and why not after such a brilliant start to this season? Look, it is a difficult time at the moment. We know that, but in difficult times, it brings people together, doesn't it? And that is exactly what's happening at this club, because the Lincoln City supporter liaison officers have swapped match days for mountains. Not quite sure what I'm talking about? Well, here's Alan Long with a little bit more for you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Well, I'm here with somebody that most of the youth fans will know, Lindsay Warwick, of course, who is one of our Matchday SLOs. And Lindsay, normally you're a Matchday SLO.
I am.
This weekend you're up to something else. Tell us what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Okay, so this weekend, 6 of us are climbing Mount Snowdon.
Really?
In the dark. So we will be leaving base camp at about 2:30 in the morning for the early hours of Sunday morning. And our aim is to get to the summit for sunrise, see the sunrise, and then make our way back.
Okay, now you mentioned there's other people doing it, so let's have a name check.
So there's 6 of us doing it, so there's myself, I'm doing it on behalf of the SLOs.
Well done.
Taking one for the team. There's also my husband, I've dragged him in on it, Chris Warwick. There's 2 lovely ladies called Jane Chamberlain and Sally Campbell, who are all of us are Lincoln City fans. And then we've got 2 gents, Steve Donner and Darren Hicks.
Okay. And why are you doing this?
So we are doing this, it's fans raising money for fans, fans supporting fans, to enable our visually impaired and blind supporters to enhance their matchday experience. So we're raising funds to buy specialist equipment, so audio descriptive commentary equipment for a match day, which gives them a greater perspective of the game. Brilliant.
And now I know, because I was involved in all this, it's been going on for quite some time, and we're finally going to do it, or say you are finally going to do it. How much have you raised so far?
So today I've just done a quick check before we've come on, and we're at 2,772.
Fantastic. Now, there is no limit to how much money we want to raise, so if anybody wants to donate, Lynn, how can they do that?
So if they just go onto our Facebook page, and the link is pinned to the top of our Facebook page, either that private message myself or the club or yourself, Alan, they can leave a donation and we can tell them where to go on the Just Giving page. It's a bit of a complicated address to give. Or just giving ones are complicated.
I'm sure there's plenty of tech-savvy people out there.
Yeah, but it's out on Twitter. It's like I say, it's pinned to the top of the SLO page on Facebook. So just pop along on there and click on the link and it takes you straight to it.
Brilliant. Well, on behalf of everybody all the fans here at Lincoln City, all the staff and everybody, we wish you good luck. I'm sure you're going to put lots of pictures out on social media of
We will indeed.
you climbing the mountain and then climbing back down again. And Sam, I'm going to hand back to you, but before I do, Lindsay's just told me that there are 2 spare spaces, so I'm thinking yourself and Gary, I don't know, back to you.
Yeah, Alan Long, I'm not too sure about that. What are your thoughts, Gary? Fancy it?
Absolutely not, Sam. No.
Yeah, we're quite happy in this nice warm studio, but a good suggestion there, Al. Great stuff. So for a bit more details on that, you can go to the Lincoln City Supporter Liaison Office's Facebook page. It's a brilliant cause, and what they're doing is raise some excellent money. So well done to them. Andy Helgeson has got in touch and says, "Come on, you Imps, don't forget to join the fans player scheme. No other club has this." Yeah, we certainly echo those thoughts. What Andy and the team have done there over the years has been brilliant and raised heaps and heaps of money for Lincoln City. Do join the fans player scheme if you haven't. Okay, let's run through today's Lincoln City team news for you once again. If we can get the graphic up. In goal, it's Palmer, Bradley, Montsma, Ioma, Melbourne, Bridcut, Eden, Jones, Grant, Anderson, Scully. On the bench, it's Ethan Ross, Jackson, McGrandles, Howarth, Rowan, Archibald and Hopper. That is the Lincoln City starting 11. Gary, I'll ask you first of all about Tayo Eden, because we haven't seen much of him this season. What do you make of him starting this season?
Yeah, it's a great chance for Tayo. I seem to be saying that about every player, but I suppose when you're playing Liverpool, it's a good chance for everybody. Tayo really is the kind of the 4th man of the 3. I think the midfield 3 is Bridcut, McGrandles and Jones. We're going to need Tayo match ready, fit and raring to go. He's got a lot of quality on the ball as Tayo. He can play a nice pass. Michael says he does unbelievable things in training. So I'd really like to see him kind of showing what he can do tonight.
Alex Bradley as well. Can you talk us through that one?
Yeah, Alex Bradley's an interesting one, because I think in pre-season many people felt that he would be going back out on loan. Arguably might not have got a squad number. Aaron Lewis picks up his injury. TJ Ioma is our right back, but then you need the replacement right back. Alex is impressed when he's come in. He looks like a solid professional. I prefer him at right back, and I know I think Michael does too. I think when I interviewed him, he spoke about how good Alex is with the game ahead of him, rather than playing with his back to it all the time. Again, I just said it, but what a chance for Alex Bradley, on loan at Harrogate last season, playing Premier League champions tonight.
We've had a few comments coming in questioning about the situation regarding Callum Morton and no Tom Hopper this evening as well. How much onus is on Anthony Scully?
Yeah, again, I think it's an experiment with Anthony Scully. I think Scully would like to play number 9. I think that was what he was playing at West Ham in the academy when he was scoring lots of goals. It has surprised me that we haven't gone with Tom Hopper. It is a surprising lineup, I think, really across the board in some respects. But it is, as I say, it's a big night for Anthony Scully. I think Tom Hopper may well get on at some point. I think he's a different prospect altogether. What it perhaps suggests is that Anthony Scully is younger, maybe a little bit quicker than Tom Hopper. So I think it does lean much more towards that counter-attacking football that's probably been expected.
How nice is it to have options at a time like this, though? Because we know that clubs are going through really, really tough times at the moment. But Michael has done his business early. He's been savvy with the signings that he's made, and he's able to make many, many changes, which bodes well going forward into what is going to be a really busy, difficult season.
Michael's transfer business, or should we say the club's transfer business, because let's not play down the likes of Jez George as well. The transfer business as a whole has been very shrewd. There's been no secret made about the fact that the budget is tighter this year than it was last year. So in order to be able to have so many players for different positions, he's had to go out and get flexible, versatile players. He's done that in Tayo Eden and Anthony Scully. He did that in January with them. But he's also made sure that where we need the experience, where we need dedicated players in certain positions, that we've got that. McGrandles, Jones, Liam Bridcut. But the flexibility across the back, I think, is the most surprising thing. Melbourne, left back or centre back. Montsma, either side of centre back. Ioma, right back or centre back. We've got a really fluid back 4. So again, I've said it before, it does just bode well for the future.
Yeah, let's get to some more of your comments then. Jodie White says, good luck from down south in Wallington. Charlie's been in touch asking what the weather is like. What's the weather like there, Sam and Gary? I'm watching in a rainy Scotland. I heard the rain bashing against the window slightly. I think it's dried up now. I don't know if you can, you can see behind me now, can't you, that the Imps players are warming up, and of course Liverpool over there. We know that Jurgen Klopp likes to watch the opposition lining up, Gary. Can't seem to see him at the moment, but I'm sure he'll take a moment, won't he, to stand on that centre circle over there where you can see the Carabao keep an eye on Mike Appleton and his squad are up to.
Without my glasses, Sam, I didn't know that was Lincoln warming up, if I'm honest. Again, from a personal point of view, it's fantastic to be able to see the boys warming up. You the viewers at home, obviously can see that well. They look ready for it. They're going through their warm up. They look fit. They look raring to go. Tonight's going to be all about fitness from a Lincoln City point of view. Take our chances where we can. Be quick on the break. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you can hear the atmosphere cranking up as well. That's, of course, the pre-match music that both sets of players require to get them in the mood ready for this game as well. A couple more of your comments. Owen says, what do you both think the score will be versus Liverpool tonight? Well, I've said this before on this show. I am merely the presenter, Owen. I'm not here to offer my opinion. I will sit on the fence and I'll say that it'll be a close game. I certainly hope it's a close game, a close, interesting one. Gary, go on then. Whilst we're here, I'll put you on the spot.
I am an eternal pessimist, as everybody knows, but I'm not going to predict a thumping. I do think Liverpool will win. I think that a good result for Lincoln would be to get a goal and go down something like 3-1.
John says, as long as the team give a good account of themselves tonight, there is a lot to be gained from this match, not least a lot of much needed money. Yeah, it always comes at a good time when you're a League One club, television money, doesn't it? But none more so than now.
Absolutely, and even more so with the news that's come out in the last week about future restrictions. And I think when you look around the ground, again, we've got some great footage here, but you look around the ground at the video advertising hoardings that are there, we've got some huge flags where we'd much rather have fans in the stand, but it's all great marketing opportunities for the club. I know from a marketing point of view, this is a dream tie. From a supporter's point of view, it would be if they were here as well. The television money is certainly a help. And who knows, maybe it might help Michael get that last signing over the line. It puts even more sort of a cherry on the top of the cake, so to speak.
Sharon says, can we get Arsenal again? People want revenge for that 5-0. Okay. Just the small matter of getting over the Premier League champions, first of all. But that would be a mouth-watering one as well, wouldn't it?
It would be. I mean, obviously, Cornell is extremely excited at the fact that we're going to be Liverpool and Arsenal, which would be a fantastic result. Look, this is. I'm not going to say the cup final. This is the reward for two really good results in the cup. If we were to get through, and it's such a slim chance. Yeah, it'd be wonderful for you and I to be sat here in a week talking about facing Arsenal. You never know. You just never know, son.
Incredible, isn't it, that we got through 50 minutes of this show without mentioning Charlton Athletic at the weekend as well, which certainly 4 or 5 years ago would have seemed, and still is a big game, but it would have seemed like an absolutely monumental match, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Charlton Premier League history, and they've got a really good manager in Lee Bowyer. I think it's going to be a tough game. It forms part of what's been a really tough start. I said when the fixtures came out, we had a tough start to the season. I didn't for 1 second envisage that we would have the Premier League champions dropped in there as well. Look, I think if you ask any supporter, really, they would probably take defeat tonight and 3 points against Charlton Athletic. Financially, I think there'd be people behind the scenes at the club who might just say that we'll take wins in both games and be done with it.
We can see Alex Palmer warming up. We've mentioned him plenty of times on this show, but how brilliant is it to have a goalkeeper of that quality in the net for the Imps?
It's really good. I spoke to Alex ahead of the Charlton game. He's going to be the interview in the programme. He's a really grounded young man. He's quite a bubbly, lively character. They always say goalkeepers are crackers anyway. But when you see him kind of filling the goal, what is he, 6'4"? We didn't talk about the MK Dons game a huge amount, but the save at the end at 2-1 got us 3 points. It was as good as a goal. And I think for a young defence, you need to be able to rely on your goalkeeper. I'm not going to say in years gone by we haven't had good goalkeepers, because we have. Alan Marriott was a great goalkeeper. Josh Vickers was a very good goalkeeper. Paul Farman was as well. I think Alex Palmer is a different level. I think Alex Palmer has got a little bit of everything. Lincoln goalkeepers in the past have arguably had something that stopped them progressing. Alan Marriott was perhaps his height. Josh Vickers was perhaps his claiming of crosses. At the moment, Alex Palmer looks the real deal, the full package.
Yeah, interesting what you say there about character, because he has overhauled this squad, hasn't he, Michael Appleton? He seems to have signed some really great people as well as excellent footballers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting when you talk to some of the players as well. There hasn't been any big team bonding session. They went away to Manchester pre-season, but some of the new signings weren't already involved. But he signed the sort of characters that are aspirational, as we've already spoken. They're very grounded. They're very focused on what they need to do in the future. They've obviously gelled very well. I was talking again, as I've said, to Alex Palmer, and he was telling me about the car school that he's in with James Jones and Anthony Scully. These are all new signings. They've all moved up to Lincoln, and it's almost like, in all being new players, that's actually brought them together quicker than if we'd brought 3 or 4 players in and tried to introduce them into a settled squad.
We are nearly running out of time on this Matchday Live show. It is absolutely raced by. I will just about finish with some of your comments. Jake Tong says he's got his Stacey West high vis on. Come on, the boys, looking good, Gaz. Cheers to Chris for being a great host. Sam, but we nearly got there. All about Gary anyway. Absolutely fine, no problem at all, Jake. Won't be reading any more of your comments out on the show. No, we really enjoy your videos on the stacey-west.net as well, Jake. So keep up the good work. Al says, "Good luck, Michael Appleton's Red and White Army." From all the roster imp. Not quite sure what that means, but great to hear from you, Al, as well. Francis says hello. Michael says, "Best of luck to the Imps from Buffalo, New York, the United States." And this is it, isn't it, Gary? It's great to see so many people. We heard from the North American Imp this time last week. It's great to see so many worldwide Imps, isn't it?
100%. And the thing is, games like this only facilitate that further. We picked up a lot of those supporters from the FA Cup run or from things like Football Manager, but this game's worldwide. You know, I think it's been beamed into 170 countries. We'll pick up new supporters tonight, and going forward, that just all builds momentum like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Absolutely, Guy. Really appreciated your time tonight. Hope you enjoyed tonight's one-off special Matchday Live show here from the LNER Stadium. A reminder that if you want to watch tonight's game, you can do so by visiting nowtv.com. You can get your match pass there. If you want to listen to the game, go to www.weareimps.com/iFollow. Most importantly, enjoy tonight's game. We'll be back at the usual time of 1:30 on Sunday afternoon when the Imps take on Charlton Athletic. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.